Hi, I'm Linda Padgett, and this is the Living Christian Virtue Series. Today's virtue is faith, and the opposite of faith is presumption. Faith is one of those big ones. It's one of the big three: faith, hope, and love. Faith is a big one for one single reason. It's because all the other virtues cannot grow properly without faith. We have to believe that God loves us. We have to have faith that He is at the core of our life, and that He will take care of us, and that He will provide for us, and that He will be just, and that He will provide justice for all of us as we surrender our will and we surrender our rights as we grow in virtue. Faith has to be at the heart of it all. I've been a Christian a long time. As a kid, I became a Christian in my Protestant church. I've grown as an adult. I have served Him and loved Him and sought Him my whole adult life. Not perfectly, far from being perfect. But I do see throughout my life how God has been faithful. He has taught me faith. He has challenged my faith over and over and over again. My husband and I we have lived by faith for well over 20 years now. We both quit our jobs at the same time. I was teaching and I quit because I wanted to be home with my kids. Chris was working and he quit because he was called that he needed to go into full-time ministry. We both quit. And we have lived by faith ever since. God has provided. My husband has worked his tail off to grow the ministry that he has developed. But God has provided faithfully. There were times that we had nothing, and we have seen Him provide toilet paper on our doorstep because we had no money to buy it. People gave it to us. We've seen money show up in the mail that we didn't know was coming so that we could go out and actually buy groceries. It's been an amazing journey of faith. He's always asking me to grow, always asking me to trust Him and to stretch my faith muscle a little bit. I have a good story to share with you about how God has grown faith in my life. Way back 20 years ago, when my husband and I went full-time into ministry, we had no money, really no money. Everything he had to build one phone call at a time. And it was hard, very hard. So, because we already had 2 children and we were wondering how in the world we were going to feed those kids, I decided that it was time for us to go and apply for food stamps. Now, I'm going to make a little note here for everybody. I am not against food stamps. I believe that it is a useful thing for those who are struggling at the time to use food stamps or any other government assistance. I am not saying that it's a bad thing to do. But here's the story for us that the Lord had for us specifically. I was going to sign up for food stamps, and I remember the Lord very clearly spoke to my heart and asked me this. He said, "Have you asked me if you should apply for food stamps?" And I kind of was surprised at that question. I thought, that's a silly question. Why are you asking me that? No, of course I've not asked you, because there's nothing wrong with us getting food stamps. We're full-time ministry. We need food for our kids. Why is there anything wrong with this? But the Lord just said, "Are you going to ask me if you should get food stamps?" And I said, "Okay. All right, God, I'll ask you. Sure. Okay, God, should we get food stamps?" I mean, literally, that's how I asked Him. "Okay, God, should we get food stamps?" Because I was convinced that He would say, "Yes, go for it. It's a great way for you to be provided for. I have this for you to use right now at your time of life." That's what I assumed He would say, but He didn't. Instead, He said, "No, I don't want you to get food stamps." And I was shocked, and I thought, why? Why can't we get food stamps? And this is what the Lord spoke very clearly to my heart. He said, "Because you will miss so much of how I'm going to provide for you." He wanted faith. It wasn't this political answer as to food stamps good, food stamps bad. No, it was me. And it was in our marriage and our faith and our ministry. The Lord wanted to grow faith in us. He wanted us to trust Him. He wanted us to believe that He will take care of us. And He did. It wasn't easy. We went without quite a bit. but he provided. 20 years later, he has only blessed us with more and more faith. That little nugget of faith has grown and grown and grown into how we live our life today, still by faith, still trusting in his provisions. One of the great Bible stories that show faith is the story of David and Goliath. You have little David who's going to go against this massive giant with a slingshot. He didn't want the armor. He couldn't wear the armor that was given to him. He just went with just a slingshot, and he was going to defeat this giant. And I think he was asked, why? What makes you think you're going to go defeat this massive giant? And you know what David's answer was? Because God has delivered me from the bear, and God has delivered me from the lion. In David's life, he had encountered God's protection over and over again. He had seen God deliver him from bears. He'd seen God deliver him from lions. He had seen God take care of him throughout his young life. And because he had seen God work in those ways, he had complete faith that God was going to protect him against this giant. It made complete sense to him. And I've seen that in my own life. Those little nuggets, like saying no to food stamps and yes to trusting God, has only grown into more and more faith. I can today turn and see why do I know that God's going to take care of us in some of the worst difficult situations. My husband isn't going in for emergency open heart surgery. How do I know that no matter what happens, God is going to take care of me? Because he's already provided me. He's already delivered me from the bear and from the lion. He's already done it. I have those things to fall back on, those acts of faith to fall back on. So no matter what I encounter in the future, God will provide. So how do you grow in faith? How do you allow the faith of God to well up in you so that you can be heroic and do great things in his servants? You have to exercise that muscle of faith and trust. You have to listen for the voice of God and follow it, no matter how scary it is, no matter how much it doesn't make sense to your rational mind. You have to follow God's leading and trust in faith. In order to grow in faith, you have to use faith. You have to experience it. You have to exercise it. You have to grow little by little by little. Faith is a big one. Without faith, the rest of these virtues will be impossible. So trust God. Find that area that he's challenging you in. What is that area? Where is God challenging you to grow? Step out in faith and believe that he will take care of you. Believe that he will be the support, that safety net in case you fall. Because you will fall. You will fail. Things aren't going to be smooth sailing just because you're following the will of God. But believe that he will be there to catch you. He will be there to lead you. And then when the real difficult things in life come along, the lion, the bear, that's the evidence you need to believe this time. Grow in faith. Thanks for watching. To see more videos like this or to sign up to receive the follow-up Bible study, please go to my website, linda360.com.